Hello, in this video we're going to go over how to make controls. Um, if you're taking my class, you should have access to this Google Doc that is basically a step-by-step tutorial and overall information, additional information than the videos that some of you guys are watching. So there's a section called checklist of every controller, or every control. You can click on that and it should take you here. So controls, just to be clear, are they usually look something like this, and then they control the curves, basically. NURBS curves that control your geometry. They don't have to be NURBS curves. Most of the time they are. You don't actually move the joints to make animation. The reason why we don't use joints is they have numbers in the translates, rotates, mainly in the translates, and you have to be able to get into the default position, and they're kind of hard to get to, and because they're inside of the model usually. So, and the controls give you the ability to have a little bit easier to use, and you're not messing around with the internals of the actual rig, which is always an iffy thing. And so let's look at this. So controls should not have translate, rotate, or scale. So that gives you the ability to get to the default position. Controls and its control group should have the same local rotation axis and pivot point position. I'll show you that. So you should have the same pivot point, the control and the group it's under. The controls and the control group should have the same local rotation axis and pivot point of the joint they are manipulating. So our joints and our control should have the same pivot point and rotation and local rotation axis. So that's another thing. And there's a whole process of us getting that to work, and I'll show you. And then controls should be easily usable and clearly understood. So that's where we can manipulate our controls to make them easier to use. Okay, so in the shelf here, we can just create a circle. You can also go up to create NURBS primitives circle. It's the same thing. And you'll see it creates this little NURBS circle here. A hotkey that you should know is F9. So that will take you to the vertices of your NURBS circle, and you're gonna scale it up. The reason why I did it this way, why I scaled it up with the vertices, is I have 0 translate or rotates or scales here. Now, if I were to undo this, go to the object mode, and scale it up, you'll see that I have this here. And that's why we're avoiding having to deal with that. You can always delete history freeze transforms, but just get used to using controls or scaling controls by changing by scaling it by the vertices. So I'm going to name this root underscore CTRL for control, and then I'm going to group it and name this root underscore CTRL. And the reason why we add a group here is we don't want any kind of translate, rotates, or scales on this. And we're going to do we're going to use our movement or our translates and everything and place them in this. So if I move this right here, see how there's a translate there? But when I click on the control, there's nothing there. That's why we have that. So actually, let's not do this one. Let's do this one because the local rotation axis will make this very clear. So this one is called arm I'm going to name this arm rot joint. I'm going to copy that name. I'm going to put that there and put this underscore control. And name this control group, GRP. Okay. So this will be the control for this joint here. And the way that we get this, so right now if I were to just snap this over here to this joint, so I'm going to turn off my there. Actually, I'm going to hide my model because it's getting in the way. I'm just going to select this and snap it like that. So I snapped it to the joint. You're like, oh, why isn't that good enough? You can have a lot of issues with your control or with your rig if your control group and your control are not the same LRA local rotation axis as your joint. So if I select this, see how this is going, the Z is going up and X is going that. Now if I select this, this is different. That's what we don't want. It can cause a lot of issues. So to get this to look right, or to match the joint LRA, we have to select our joint. So remember this process: select the joint, select the control group, then go over to parent constraint, go to the option box, make sure maintain offset is off. That's really important, otherwise this won't work. Now if I hit apply, see how it snapped it, and now my local rotation axis is matching. So, and you'll see that it added a parent constraint here. I'm going to delete that constraint. And now I'm going to go and turn back my geometry because I need to be able to see that. You're like, well, now my joint, my control is like, doesn't really make sense. Then we can use F9. Go select all your control, all your vertices. Scale down, and then you can put on rotation, go to discrete rotate, and rotate it like that probably until it kind of makes sense. So I think that makes sense. You could even just pull this out if you wanted, if that's more helpful, and like that. Now go to object mode. So now they're not connected now, but that feels, the local rotation axis makes sense now with this. So I think that's a good first video on controls. The next video I'll go over just applying this.